Hey everyone, very good morning. Today's the 12th day here in Tasmania. It's 10:15 right now, so I should be going to this distillery. So it's the Hellers Road Distillery. It's about $20 to get in to see the distillery, to take a tour. Then you can buy your own, I guess, at the end. Yeah, let's keep on going.
Head northeast on Edward Street towards Adelaide Street.
Northeast on Edward Street.
History and where we came from. So in 1957, 35 local dairy farmers and shareholders came together to form Buttermilk, the company that you would have seen next door. But a lot of the market was already clustered with things like that, so they really wanted to branch out as much as possible. At the same time, Bill Lark from Life Distillery was lobbying for spirits to be made in Tasmania because it once was illegal. Once that sort of went through, we got back to those dairy farmers and shareholders, and they thought, well, that's a pretty cool idea, why not give it a shot? So in 1997 we began and our distillery was built. 2002 our first casks were filled, and 2006 our first bottles of whiskey were filled and our visitor centre was opened. So we're still quite young, but we're really getting out there at the moment. We now export to over 20 countries worldwide, and we've also recently won a couple of awards at the Whisky World Awards for our 12-year-old original and our 15-year-old slightly peated whisky. So these are the type of casks we'll generally use. So we'll get them from Jack Daniels or Heaven Hills Distillery in the US, white oak ex-bourbon casks. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but over there there's a law that states you can only use a cask once before it has to be sold or discarded. So inside they are char fired, so that also some sort of myths on how that first began as well. Some people said maybe if they wanted to reuse those casks, they'll burn off that flavour of the fish or the fruit or whatever. But what we do know is that it primes the wood. So it gets all those natural sugars starting to go in the wood and all those flavours for our whisky. If we start to lose too much of that in the process, we can take these casks up to Hobart, to a cooperage there, and they can de-char and re-char this layer and get that life and flavour back to the cask as well. This is the barley we use. We'll primarily get it from the Midlands towards Hobart. So through heat and moisture, we'll force these grains to shoot. That will get the enzymes working in there and start changing the starches in the barley into natural sugars. We'll then dehydrate the barley there, and it will be brought down to us to be stored in our grain silos for at least 6 weeks before we have to start using it. So once we have the barley, we pop it through a machine called the grist mill. Small thing with stainless steel rolls inside that will crush the barley up into 3 different ratios for us. Here is the mix of all 3 that will go into the mash tun to begin our distillation process. So our distillation process takes about 6 to 9 days, and believe me, this isn't all we have, but we have used this little copper still for some experiments as well, to make smaller batches and see what we can do there. So the whole distillation, like I said, takes 6 to 9 days. We'll end up with this product, our new make spirits. So this comes off distillation about 65 to 75% alcohol. But we can't consider this a whisky until it's sat in the barrel of some kind for at least 2 years in Australia. So we'll go in the barrel looking like this, come out looking similar to this. So we'll get 100% of that colour and 70% of the flavouring from the barrels alone. Any extra of that flavouring is from changing the grist ratios, changing the depth of the char, or even what type of barrel you're using. And then we get some of our products here. So we have our original signature flavours coming from that ex-bourbon cask. So you're getting those beautiful vanilla and citrus flavours, a bit of a spice kick as well. So we have in our original, we have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. The 12-year-old has won us Best Single Malt 12-year-old whisky at the Whisky World Awards as well, so very proud of these ones. So obviously the more age, the more flavour, the smoother it becomes, and beautiful stuff there. We have our Twin Oak. This one does very well in Europe alongside our Pinot Noir finished whiskey as well. And this is a married cask whiskey. That means we've combined basically 2 casks together to get those flavours. So it is an ex-bourbon married with a port cask. So you get those vanilla citrus flavours coming from the original as well. A bit more of a spice kick and some winter fruit flavours as well. Also that darker, richer colour coming from the port. And here we have our slightly peated. We do usually have a normal peated whiskey, however we actually just sold out of that, so we're waiting for some more to age. This one though did win us another award at the Whisky World Awards, so very nice stuff. So peated barley, we actually source from Scotland. We don't source it here. So what they'll do is they'll lay the barley out completely flat on top of vents and smoke peat moss underneath to infuse those flavours into the barley. So some distilleries have been able to get a hold of peat bogs to make their own peat in Tasmania. A lot of this is protected by private property or national park laws, damaged in wildfires, so it can be a bit hard to try and grab some for yourself. So we'll continue to use Scotland barley until further notice. But this one here, our slightly peated, is about 10% peat compared to about 90% peat in our usual peated. So it still has a bit of that fresh fruit sort of taste coming from that bourbon as well, and then a nice hit of that smokiness, that beautiful flavour, earthiness. And we have our whiskey cream. You can't help but mention Bailey's when you have a look at it though. It is using our whiskey and beautiful fresh buttermilk cream to get those flavours. It took them about 2 years to figure out how to perfect this recipe as well. So we have an original, we have a coffee and a hazelnut flavour. You can get really experimental with this, obviously drink it straight, pop it on top of ice cream and it's beautiful. Definitely not as sweet as the Bailey's is that as well, so you can sort of try different things out there too. A little bit about our namesake Henry Hillier. So he was a surveyor, architect and explorer in the 1800s. Came down here to Tasmania and founded so many places around the northwest coast. So you might hear Helly's Beach or Helly's Gorge, Black Bluff, St Valentine's Peak, many more. Our connection to him is he was the surveyor for this entire area and he watched the creation and carving of the original road that we're sitting on. And we sit right on top of it, it's basically right through our path. So these are the whiskies we'll be trying from today. And you can choose if you want to have both of them or one of them, or if you want to share with me as well. So these are coming straight from those 2 casks right over there that you've walked past. So they are distiller's choices, so handpicked by our head distiller. That's what he thinks might go well in the market and how the future might look for us as well. So what we have here is our first ever release of a sherry cask. So sherry can be a bit hard to make. You can only consider it one if it's from a genuine cask from Jerez in Spain. So it's a regional wine in the end. So it can be a bit hard to try and grab those casks as well, so we're very lucky to have got some. So it is a 7-year-old whiskey, and it's coming off at 48.3% alcohol. So I will also pour some purified water on the side as well. So what that can do, if you want to, I'm not going to force you to do different things in your whiskey that you're not used to, but it will bring down sort of that harshness, that alcohol percentage, and open up your whiskey to so many different flavours that are hidden away from that as well. So definitely drink it straight first and get those initial beautiful flavours.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful and peppery from that red wine influence, definitely.
Very easy to drink.
And you like the tobacco sort of smokiness to it, which you don't really expect at first, and then you've got this nice sort of warmth from that. We also have our oldest release at the moment. So this one here is our 18-year-old original. It's also cask strength, so it hasn't been diluted by any water. So it's sitting at 63.5% alcohol.
Wow.
Half nip of that will be a full standard drink. So this one is very similar to our original, obviously that ex-bourbon influence. Quite of a hit from that high alcohol percentage, but it does get quite smooth after the initial taste as well.
That's amazing.
So it's quite smooth, even though it's so high, that age really mellows it out and finishes it off basically. But you get so many different flavours coming from this one. This one's really divisive on what you're tasting, so I taste all the citrus, fresh apples, is all I tasted for an hour after I drank it. I'd say it doesn't have that smoky kick to it a lot. Although I'd say this one might actually be smoother. It's about the same age. But yeah, these are the original vessels from 1997 as well. So Betta Milk went pretty big, putting their whole heart and soul into it, coming from a dairy milk farming company background into whiskey all of a sudden. So most of these vessels are made in Wynyard, except for the 2 grain silos at the back with the orange legs. They were made in Victoria and brought in by boat. So what we do here is we'll heat up the liquid inside to 85 degrees plus. That will change the liquid inside into a vapour state, and it'll shoot up the copper swan neck and back down the black condenser where it's cooled down. It will end up in a liquid state once again in our low wind receiver. This one over here with our original code tells me it was distilled in 2003 with the 3 at the front. Next 3 numbers is the day, so the 215th day, which I believe is the 3rd of August, and it was the 10th cask filled from that day. Open up my favourite room.
This is where we want to see.
So there's roughly 2,000 casks in here by itself. We have a second bond store with roughly 2,000, and we've just acquired a third that we're using up very quickly as well. This room also is not temperature controlled, so we just rely on Tasmanian climate, concrete floors and walls and insulated roof. So because we have that perfect climate here, we're lucky enough that we only lose about 2 to 3% in evaporation per year, which is inevitable because we do want the cask to breathe. So we are going to lose percentage, but we're very happy with how low that is. These green-faced ones here, so they are third fields, but technically first fields. They've been taken to the cooperage in Hobart and been decharred and recharred, and we'll use that for a final time. And then we'll sell it to general public. So here we have some ex-bourbon casks waiting to be filled as well. Some port casks. Those silver rim ones are some French oak Pinot Noir casks as well. So, yeah, so those are those second filled ones as well.
Because these leaf and dark.
Yeah, so they're still the same cask, just different painting markups. So the sherry we do have downstairs in a bigger bottle, and only difference is alcohol percentage is down at that 46.2% there, rather than the 48. That 18-year-old is not downstairs, that is only up here at the moment, special for tours. Interested in filling one up?
Yeah, thinking about it. So that's the
Yeah,
wax, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Which one would you like to get?
I'll do the 235 one, the 18-year-old.
The 18-year-old?
Yeah.
Perfect. Feel free to have a seat on that one there. What we're going to do is fill it up to the sticker there.
Yeah.
This one dribbles quite a bit, so you'll turn it off and it will probably fill up to about there.
Okay.
So if it doesn't fill up all the way,
Yeah.
what you're really aiming for is where the spout starts to go
Okay.
up. So turn it off about there and then you can sort of weigh out and turn it back on lightly and see how much that. Alright, we'll head over here and we'll wax this one up.
Yeah.
Straight into the wax.
Yeah.
Bring it back out and let it dribble for a little bit.
Okay.
Then we're going to start turning it onto its side
Yeah.
and collecting the wax around.
Okay. So
Once it's
on the
full-
top of the bottle, on the top of the
Yep, so
wax.
straight down and then you're going to start turning it on the side.
Okay.
Once it's collected enough and you're sure that it's not going to fall off into the water, you're going to do those 3 times. So you're going to be 148.
Yeah.
If you can put your name, suburb, state and postcode and today's date. Okay,
No worries.
so
Thank you
enjoy
very
that
much.
tomorrow.
You too. Yeah. Thank you. All right, guys. So that was a nice experience of bottling my first Australian whiskey. Oh, I forgot to put the I forgot to put the contacts on. No! I'm gonna go back and get the contacts on.